Hey guys, and welcome on into the next NHL season preview show. Today we're going to talk all about the Anaheim Ducks, looking at their 2023-2024 season preview. And first, I wanted to ask everyone watching a question. Was the opening video too loud? Because I had
Hmm.
someone comment on one of the videos that
Oh,
the blaring loud music to start the show hurt their ears, and it's not the best way to start a show. So I just wanted to ask everybody watching, was it too loud? What do you think about the music? And yeah, we'll start the show with that. And with me to talk the Anaheim Ducks today is Nicholas Earl at Earl Sports Bets. Make sure to give him a follow. His Twitter link is in the description below. Nick, we're going to be talking about a team that's been struggling the last couple of years, and we'll see if they once again are going to struggle this year. Additions and subtractions, and pretty big lists overall on the additions and subtraction side. When you look at it on the subtractions, um, not really a whole lot of top guys, but there are some guys with potential. Axel Anderson was a bit of a surprise. Oli Levy has never really reached his potential yet. Um, Minnesota's Joel Eriksson's younger brother or older brother, sorry, the goaltender Oli Erikssonek is now a free agent as well. But a lot of depth guys and a lot of guys that aren't really going to matter too much to the overall roster. Additions: Radko Gudas, physical defenseman, a defensive defenseman. The Anaheim Ducks didn't know what defense was last year, so to add a defensive defenseman is definitely a good start. Alex Killorn from the Tampa Bay Lightning, that's a good offensive forward addition. Robert Haig, again, defensive defenseman, good addition there. Alex Stalock, way past his prime, but played not too bad with Chicago last year when you actually look at it. Ilya Lyubushkin from Buffalo, another defenseman, and then Zach Cassian, another physical forward. So, and I'm definitely went about getting a little bit more physically tough. And they did add Killorn, which is a good addition. And when you look at what they lost, I guess Kevin Shattenkirk, another guy there on the defense. But overall, I think Anaheim slightly improved this offseason, and they have some good prospects coming to the roster this year and in future years. Nick, what do you think overall additions and subtractions this offseason for the Ducks?
yeah, they improved. And one thing that the Anaheim Ducks have that I don't think we've really said, one of their problems that they had that we haven't, I don't think, said, and with many other teams, is they had to spend money to reach the salary floor. And that's why they gave Killorn $6 million a year for 4 years. That's why they overpaid Gudas $4 million for the next 3 years. They overpaid on some of these guys, but on the flip side, they have prospects coming up. They got a lot of first round picks coming up too. They have two next year, or that's round one. They have multiple round two and round three picks. I was reading it wrong there, but next year. But this is a team where, yeah, they made additions because they needed to spend money, and these guys came to Anaheim because they can get the most money in Anaheim. The Bushkin getting 2.75. So they made nice signings. They overpaid for probably a couple of them. I kind of think that when you look at the losses, Anthony Stolarz, he never really got it going in Anaheim. I'm surprised they got rid of him because I think they might trade John Gibson, or they should trade John Gibson because they could probably get a decent return back for him. Shattenkirk, yeah. Maxim Contois, I think, had some upside, and they got rid of him as well. Overall, yeah, this team got better, but I mean, it's hard to get worse when you were the worst team in the NHL last year. So I hope they got
Yeah,
better.
yeah, I can agree with that. Moving on to the next segment, and yes, if you've watched previous shows, this segment looks a little bit different for the Anaheim Ducks. That is because they have two really big, important, restricted free agents that are not yet signed for this season, upcoming, being their top offensive forward and Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale. So two young guys with a lot of potential that the Ducks have not signed. So, despite having the most cap space in the NHL, the Ducks have yet to sign two really important pieces here. Do they get signed before the season starts? They could. Do they get traded before the season starts? That would surprise me. I can't see the Ducks moving on from these two great players, but we've heard different things about Zegras' defense being an issue in getting a contract here, and maybe there's another team that's willing to give him that contract and just hope that he improves defensively. Um, but so those two are question marks at the current moment and currently not signed as we film this video. Looking at next year's upcoming free agents, really, when you look at Henrique and Silverberg, those are two guys that I would be shocked if either one of them stay in Anaheim. Getting up there in years, Silverberg's been hurt a lot, and just time to move on. I think with the Ducks being a rebuilding young team. Max Jones, RFA, I'm sure they'll re-sign him. Isaac Lundestrom, I'd be re-signing him too if I was the Ducks. When it comes to the defensemen, maybe keep the bottom two guys that are RFAs. I would be letting the top three UFA guys, Labushkin, Robert Haig, and Colton White, all go to other teams in the offseason, and the same with Alex Stalock. So, really, when you look at the Anaheim Ducks, the most important guys to be signed have to be signed this season and anytime now in Zegras and Drysdale. Nick, what do you think overall about the upcoming free agents list here for the Ducks?
Yeah, and keep in mind, people watching this, it is currently 5:53 on September 27th. So if this video comes out, I don't know exactly when this video is scheduled to come out. Um, Zegras and Drysdale can be signed or traded by then. So if this video comes out and our information is wrong, we are literally recording this on the 27th around 6 o'clock. So with that being said, they should absolutely sign these guys. I don't think there's really much of a question unless they're fully embracing a complete tank for the next few years to come. They can get a haul for Zegras. They could probably get a decent return for Drysdale. If that's the path that they want to go down and they can't make a signing with these guys, maybe that's what you got to do. But with that being said, Henrique and Silverberg, I can see them re-signing for a year or two, just to keep Anaheim above the pay floor or the salary floor, because those guys are making 5.8 and 5.2. Unless they want to go out and replace them, which they very well can, the same way they went out and got Killorn in this offseason and players like that. They can easily resign them, though. Labushkin, I think, is a nice little depth defenseman that they might re-sign. He is making 2.7, so they might re-sign him. And probably the RFAs there down the bottom. Those are young guys that probably you can sign for cheap. Both of them are making less than $1 million a year. And Stalock, you can get rid of him. That's fine. I think that Lucas Dostal could be the future of goaltending for the Anaheim Ducks for the foreseeable future if they do choose to get rid of Gibson as well. So, yeah, obviously, if you're looking to compete within the next couple of years, re-sign Zegras or find a way to re-sign Zegras and Drysdale. And Zegras, learn how to play some defense. And yeah, other than that, that's kind of where I'd look for her here.
Awesome. Yeah, Anaheim probably just doesn't want to give a 8-year deal to Zegras
Yeah.
with what he's shown defensively. And an 8-year deal is a long deal. If that's what he's trying to get is an 8-year deal. So I can totally see them putting up the stop sign and maybe saying, hey, we want to sign you for 1 or 2 years and see if you can improve.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens with those two guys. Of course, projected lineups across the NHL have Drysdale and Zegras both in the lineup and both on the top line and top defensive pair. I have them in white because they have not been signed, so they are not able to play until they get signed. So they are in white there. If you take those two names out, this is an extremely, extremely bad defensive core and forward core. Carlson on the third line for the Ducks. He's going to be someone I'm going to be targeting in player props, being a high draft pick. I look for him to get a good opportunity here with the Ducks, especially if Zegras isn't signed to start the year. Then most likely we see McTavish maybe go to the top line, Carlson to the second line. Um, we'll see what happens with that. Speaking about players that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, I'm going to be releasing a video after the NHL season preview shows, which will be going over players that I will be targeting for player props for each team. I'm going to go over each team and talk about players that I'm going to be looking at to start the season as a way to get ready for the season. So stay tuned for that video coming up on the channel. Looking at the defense, Zellweger is very highly rated defensive prospect. So looks like he'll get in the lineup here, which is great for him. Haig and Gudis is not a defensive pair that teams are really going to be jumping to play against. But like I said, if you take Drysdale out of that lineup or out of the defensive core, it's pretty rough. Nick already talked about Gibson. Um, he might not really have a lot of teams running to go trade for him just because he's had a rough time the last 2 years. But a change of scenery could be exactly what he needs. Nick is right. Lucas Dostal is the future for the Anaheim Ducks in goal. So I'm sure he would welcome a John Gibson trade. But overall, this lineup is pretty rough. And if Zegras and Drysdale don't start the season for the Ducks are going to be pretty much close to an auto fade and could definitely compete for bottom of the NHL, the least points in the NHL. Nick, what do you think about this overall lineup? And what do you think about this overall lineup with Zegras and Drysdale not in it?
This lineup is young. Like when you look at McTavish is 20, Carlson is 18, Zegras is 22. They got some young guys that could be big role players in this one on this lineup. Drysdale's 21. Dostal is 23. So this is a young team that is going to have growing pains. Now, if you lose Zegras and Drysdale, this team is screwed. And they're probably one of the worst teams in the NHL, if not the worst team in the NHL. But I'm pretty sure the next team you're going to talk about probably is going to hold that record this year with the Sharks there. But
I disagree, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
fair.
I actually like the Sharks better than I like the Ducks, but we'll get to
Well,
that.
it all depends for me. Obviously, if Zegras and Drysdale are in the lineup, I think the Ducks are a better overall team than the Sharks. And I think that John Gibson will not make it the full season with Anaheim. Yeah, I think one of the only things that's holding them back for trading with him is he is making $6.5 million a year. So his contract is not the cheapest. But I mean, when you get an established starting goaltender, which he is, and he has looked bad this year, but I mean, I would like to know any goalies that would look good in front of Anaheim's defense or behind Anaheim's defense. So this is obviously a lineup that's going to be make or break with those two guys in white. I think they can be slightly better this year with Zegras and Drysdale in the lineup. If not, then this team is going to tank. And like I think they're going to tell us what they're going to do. If they don't re-sign Drysdale and Zegras, this is going to be the worst team in the NHL, and they're probably getting a really nice haul for Zegras and Drysdale to help a rebuild over the next 3-4 years.
For sure. And like you were saying earlier about trying to get to the cap floor, maybe if the Ducks trade John Gibson and retain half of his contract, maybe a team
Yeah,
is
that's
more
not bad.
willing to
Yeah.
take 3 point something million. I'm sure his hometown Pittsburgh Penguins would
Oh yeah, that would be a good one
like to add
because
him.
Yari is a liability.
There you go. But we'll go to the final segment, which is future bets.
Oh
Taking a
boy.
look at the Anaheim Ducks here. And of course, point total is at 70 and a half. They had 58 points last year, 76 the year before. So they did have a big drop off last year. But am I ready to say that the Ducks are going to increase by 12 points? No, I'm not. I think that's like 6 wins. That's going to be tough for this Ducks team, I think, to get 6 wins more than last season. So I would go with the under in the point total, but not something I pulled the trigger on yet. If Zegras and Drysdale don't start the season, then yes, you might want to take that point total under 70 and a half. I think that the number is just too high. Make playoffs at plus 1700. If I think they're going to finish with less than 70.5 points, then they're not making the playoffs. And that's why no is minus 4,000. Of course, I'm not touching the next four bets after that. Zegras points at 67 and a half. He had 65 last year in 81 games. Overall, pretty rough season, even for him. If he goes off to a different team, then he could definitely hit the point total over. If for some reason he goes to a contender or a team that is just missing a offensive center, then maybe he could really help a team. Gibson wins at 18 and a half. He had 14 last year in 53 games played. And I would still go with the under 18 and a half because I think Lucas Dostal will get more starts than he did last year. I don't know if we see Gibson play in 53 games, especially if this Ducks team is not doing all that well. And yes, Dostal only played in 19 games, but he had a better goals against average and better save percentage um, than John Gibson. So maybe we see Dostal get more starts this year, and that leads to Gibson wins going under. But if Gibson is going to get traded, if he could potentially get traded, he could also get traded to a really good team, which could boost his wins. So, not something I'm pulling the trigger on right now. Carlson to win the Calder at plus 3,000. We just saw in the projected lineup, he's projected to be on the third line. Um, Being on the third line of the Anaheim Ducks doesn't make me feel very confident about you going on to win the Calder because you don't have much of anything around you to help. Um, who will have more points, Anaheim or San Jose? I like the Sharks. I do. I actually like the Sharks. We'll get to the Sharks show tomorrow, but I like the Sharks, and I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team, but I think people are drastically underestimating the San Jose Sharks. So I like them to have more points than the Anaheim Ducks, especially at minus 105. Nick, future bets here for the Anaheim Ducks. I know it's kind of hard with two of the biggest
Yep.
names on the team being question marks, but what do you think here for future bets?
Yeah, give me the Anaheim Ducks to win the Stanley Cup at 250 to 1. I'm definitely interested. I'm just kidding. Don't take that seriously. No, but like this is a team where if you're going to predict that Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale don't play this year with the Anaheim Ducks, they get rid of them. That under is probably the easiest play on the board, and San Jose is an okay play. 17 to 1 to make the playoffs? No. I prefer the play we gave out a couple weeks ago on a big dog to make the playoffs at 16 to 1 with the Habs. Way better than this one. I low key was hoping that it was going to be Anaheim versus Montreal. I really was. I would have taken out Montreal all day there. But I have really no interest in any of those. Carlson for Calder. I prefer Matthew Nyes if you're looking for a longer shot and trying to go away from Connor Bedard. But yeah, I've really no interest in playing the Ducks. I think they probably do get Zegras signed. I think they probably do get Drysdale signed. I'm not interested in the 70 and a half for an over because I could see this team still in the mid 60s for points, improving a little bit, but nothing crazy. So this is a team that I have probably no interest in any type of futures with.
That's okay. That is okay. I don't think you'll be saying that maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. Your opinions might be different. We might be hearing Nick say, "Take the Ducks to win the Stanley Cup."
Their
But
future looks bright once these young guys develop, kind of like Montreal, like we mentioned, that's another team very similar to them that I think is a step further. But
Yeah, Montreal is more depth,
more
more depth
depth.
in the
This team
lineup.
doesn't have as much depth, but when we look at the draft picks that they've acquired over the next few years, they have first round picks. I mean, they have multiple second and third round picks next year from the Bruins and from the Penguins and the Sharks. So you never know. Hopefully they hit on those.
For sure. Make sure to give Nick a follow. His Twitter link is in the description below. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up and make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you on the next NHL season preview.